Hi everyone! So this video is the beginning of a new series of video that I'm starting that introduces a technique that is great for if you're experiencing art block, creative block, and also for relaxation. But this technique has like 3 steps to the entire technique, and each step can be considered a work of art, so you can decide to stop at any time that you want. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce these 3 steps right now. The first step is the background. So I'll be showing you a few different ways to do the background, and the background is the most time-consuming part of this entire process. Why is it time-consuming? Because after you have finished doing it, you will need to wait for it to dry completely before you can continue with the next step. And depending on where you live, the times to dry can vary a lot. And after that, the next step is the drawing part. I will talk a little bit more about the drawing part when the time comes. And then after the drawing part is the coloring part. Again, I will go into more details about coloring when the time comes. So without waiting further, we shall start with the first technique in making the background. I will be showing you a few techniques for making the background. Hello everyone! So I am going to start with the very first method of making a background with watercolors, and today I will be using watercolor pens. Okay, just 3 colors. You might see that it's really dirty, but it doesn't really matter because, you know, when I do it, you'll see why it doesn't matter. Alright, so we're only using 3 colors, even though I have more than 3 colors out here. And these are the Koino watercolor pens. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. I already threw away the packaging. They're pretty cheap. They're student grade. They're fine for this. If you want to use more expensive ones, you want to use tube ones, that's fine with me too. Okay, it's the method that counts. So today we are doing watercolor with brushes. Okay, and before I start, I wanted you to know, or you need to remind yourself, that you're not making art for the art gallery, or you're not making normal art for yourself to look nice. This is an intuitive exercise. No skills needed. Don't have to be very precise. You can use your judgment call by things like, I feel like I want this color here, I want that color there. That's about it. I would say you have quite a lot of control with this because we're using brushes today. Okay, in the next video, I'll show you a method that you have very little control over. Okay, so I'm just using normal brushes. These are brand new brushes which I bought that I kind of like. I have not used them before. They're kind of cheap, but because I don't do enough painting to have a set of brushes, so, and since I'm gonna start doing some now, so I need some. So they come in a tin and they're in this set. Not flexing here because these are really cheap. Okay, you can see. Alright, so these are the brushes. Okay, it's a set. You can pick and choose whichever size you want. You can't really see it right now because, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick like one square one. That's probably all I'll need. Maybe a fine one, not too fine. Then I also have a mop brush here just in case I need it. And the paper I'm using today is this watercolor paper. If you live anywhere outside of Asia, you probably would not get this. I'm not sure, but this is a hot press paper. I'm testing them out. I'm trying them out. So I don't know. I've tested the watercolor stuff on here, and they do warp depending on how you use them. But with the way I'm using it, with the way I will be using it, and I will show you, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can use cheap watercolor paper or expensive watercolor paper. It doesn't really matter because of the way I'm using it, and I will show you how I use them. Okay, now, so remember, this is a stress-free thing, so any watercolor paper goes, as long as it's watercolor paper. The thicker, the better. All right. So what needs to happen here is you need a huge brush also while applying the water on. Okay. Yes, your paper is going to be totally dripping wet. I promise you that. So first, no, you see I have newspaper laid out to protect my surface because it's watercolor. Okay, I have electronic equipment all over. That's why I need protection. And you might want to have a spray bottle handy, okay, and a pipette. Alright, so this is a must. You need this. So what I'm going to do right now is, and then you need a tray. If you don't have a tray, at least a flat and smooth surface. Okay, this isn't 100% smooth. It has some matte rough stuff over here that feels like really fine grit sandpaper. But because it's a tray, that's why this is the IKEA tray. It's like, I got it for like 5 Singapore dollars. So any tray would probably do if it's flat and smooth. Okay, it has to be flat. So I've had this tray for a very long time. I used it for acrylic pouring previously. So now I'm using it for this project. This project that I'll be showing you. So first what you need to do is you take your spray bottle and then you spray it all over the surface. Not a very light misting. You want to be able to see droplets of water all over where the paper is going to go down. Okay, kind of what you see here, you can see the droplets of water. Doesn't have to be evenly covered. Okay, and then this is the paper. You lay the paper down flat. Okay, make sure the paper is in contact with the tray 100%. Doesn't have to be a tray, just the surface. Okay, next, you need to wet this brush. Okay, it doesn't have to be this wide, but it needs to be wet. And then you want to spray the entire surface of the paper as well. Okay, it has to be dripping wet. Then take your brush. Do not go to town with it. Just slightly, the brush has to be dripping wet as well. You just want to lightly go over the entire paper and make sure that it's all evenly wet, okay? You don't want to work the fibers of the paper. That's why you have to be very gentle and very conservative about all this, okay? Now you can see how wet the paper is from the reflection on the paper. That is how wet it needs to be. Now, let it sit for a little bit, and then we're going to spray it again. Now, while we are waiting, I'm going to wet the colors that I'll be using. Like, put a couple of drops on the colors I'll be using, like that. Okay, you won't see it. Some of it will be off camera. And I only want red, yellow, and blue. Now, when you pick your colors, you can pick any 3 colors that you want, maximum 4. I would say 3 is a safer bet. And if you go with red, yellow, and blue, you're pretty safe because you're not gonna get a lot of muddy colors. If you go with blue, purple, and yellow, or green, blue, and purple, then you're gonna get a lot of muddy colors. Okay, so stick to a very simple color palette. Okay, and now after all the talking, the paper, certain spots of it is kind of dried up already, so I'm going to spray some more. And then I'm going to get ready. Now, again, let me remind you, the idea here is not to make anything beautiful, at least not yet. Okay, this is just an exercise for you to make art. Okay, and it's for you to use when you have some creative block going, so that you can get going again. All right, so I'm gonna wet my brush, a mop brush, because I want to start with big huge blobs of colors. So I'm just gonna put colors anywhere I feel like it. Now, you want the colors to bleed and spread. That's the whole idea. All right, and you can put the colors anywhere you want. You basically want the colors to bleed and spread. And you want to start with the lightest color first. Okay, that's why I'm going with yellow. Doesn't matter if your palette is not clean. The colors aren't clean. They aren't supposed to be. It's fine. And you're just making shapes, making lines. Okay? You can dot if you want to. You basically are trying to make the color spread. Okay, you want spreading and bleeding. That's the main idea. Okay? So I'm going to go in with another brush now. red. I'm just making marks. I have no plans. At this point, at least. And you can do dots like this as well. Okay. Speaking of which, I'm gonna do some yellow dots on here as well. You find that your paper is drying up really fast, spray some water on it. That's what the sprayer is for. I'm gonna go with some blue. So you can actually, what you can actually do, it's even, just use watercolor splatters all over the page as well. Now I'm gonna go in and put some more water on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can make it spread more by tilting it. Now, if you notice any pooling on your paper, immediately wipe it off with some paper towel. Okay, so like all these down here, just suck it up with some paper towel. If you find that some parts are a little too dark, like over here, spray some water on it and get it to move. So the point is to just have fun with it, because you have very little control over all this. Okay, so I'm going to use this very fine brush now. What's the point of having such a fine brush? Well, I can make small tiny details if I want to. Okay. I want to make some blooms somewhere. You can do that with a thicker brush too if you want. This is what intuitive art making is all about. So now all you need to do is let this dry, and if you want to go on as a second layer, you can do it. Like after this is not completely dry, it's still a little bit wet, damp, I would say. And then you can add some more colors and make it move around a little bit more, but be aware, don't overwork it because you don't want the paper to start peeling. Okay? When you get the paper, when the paper starts peeling, you might have some trouble in the second stages and third stages that I will be showing you in another video after this is dry. And at this point, this can be a work of art on its own. Or you can use this as a background for anything. Okay? Like even bookmarks. Alright? So one tip I can give you, if you get it too wet, or if your paper starts warping and you get like pools of colors somewhere, quickly get a piece of paper towel or a piece of rag and blot it off. Dry it out. Let suck all the pooling out, like what I did just now over here. Okay? And you should be fine. So how do you peel this paper off? When it's kind of dry, like it's not completely dry, it will start to come off. It will start to loosen up. Right now it's still pretty damp, and you won't be able to get the piece of paper off. Okay, but the upside about this is the paper remains flat. I'm just wiping off some of the excess paints I see at the ends. Not necessary. And if you want to cheat, you can use a hairdryer to dry stuff. Now you can also use hairdryer to move the paint as well, but it's not advisable. You can do it. Okay, so this piece of artwork is about, I would say, 60 or 70% dry because the top part is dry. Okay, the bottom part isn't. So I'm not gonna mess with it. I'll probably peel it off and let it go dry somewhere. But I wanted to show you how it looks like when it's dry. Remember, it's watercolor. The colors are gonna dry, looking a bit more muted, like what you see here. Now, I want to point something out. You see these dark colors here? This is because of the red, yellow, and blue mixing together, and that's why you get this. Okay? It's not very dark, so it's okay. But it's not ideal, right? But this is okay, and that's why I say choose your color palette wisely. Limit it to 3 colors at best for maximum. So even with red, yellow, and blue, you will still get some muddy colors forming when the 3 colors mix together, but otherwise they're pretty much okay. Like you can see yellows, you can see blues, you can see greens, you can see some very light purple, oranges, and all these colors. And that's what we want. Okay, that's what we want. And we want all the colors to bleed out and blend, and you can barely see any fine markings or anything. That is exactly what we want. Alright, so have fun. I'm gonna let this dry, and then when it's time for the next video, when I'm showing you stage 2 or step 2, you will see what we get to do with this. All right, so I will end this video here, and I will talk to you again in the next video.